May 16th, we finally meet. Anyone up for a carriage ride?
Where does the pollen go?
Hi, I'm LadyJenevia, and on my channel I like to talk about entertainment media. I have some complimentary and some scathing things to say today in regards to the topic that is now going to be on everyone's lips, Bridgerton Season 3. I am recording this video all the way back in April, we'll say roughly about a month before you will actually get to watch this video, and there is a lot of context I have to give for what I'm going to say in my review coverage of Bridgerton Season 3 in this as well as the next few uploads I will be posting about the show. So let me give you a table of contents of what I'm going to go through in this specific video. First, I'm going to talk about this distribution model of 4 and 4 and the issues with it, as well as the distribution model for reviewers like myself, the review embargoes, and why this specific model is one I'm not a fan of. After that, I'm going to give some extra information and context about my own personal biases and perspective that further influence how I watch the show and how I process the story, since that will, of course, color how I talk about the material in this video and some of the upcoming videos. And then I will get into an overview of feedback on different characters and storylines that are shown in Season 3 Part 1. And then finally, I'm going to tell you what my next Bridgerton video topic will be, which if you're watching this video right when it's published, you will only have to wait about 4 hours, and then that video, the next Bridgerton video, will be published here on my channel. I'm getting ahead of things. As always, donation links for Palestine are in the description box, so on we go. Initially, about a month ahead of the release of Season 3 Part 1, I find myself given the first 6 episodes of Season 3 to watch in order to begin preparing my Season 3 coverage. I have been led to believe that I will get to watch episodes 7 and 8 early as well, but I have no idea exactly when I will be provided those. I take issue with this though, because each season of Bridgerton is a love story primarily focusing on a main couple. Season 1 was Daphne and Simon, Season 2 was Kate and Anthony, and Season 3 is Colin and Penelope. So if a journalist is supposed to review Season 3 of Bridgerton, how exactly are we supposed to do that when we have not been able to see the complete love story of Colin and Penelope? Not only that, there are 2 separate review embargoes given to us for Bridgerton Season 3. There is the review embargo for Part 1 and another review embargo for Part 2. And these review embargoes are including social sentiment. That type of nebulous, expansive language makes it to where I am left feeling extremely constricted about what I can even say about Bridgerton Season 3. If I come on here on my YouTube channel and say something hypothetically, like, I really enjoyed Colin and Penelope's love story, there are peaks and valleys and some dramatic blow-ups before they get their happy ending, am I going to get an angry email telling me that I've broken the review embargo? I'm going to put it to you, the romance fiction-loving audience, another way. Imagine if you were trying to explain to someone about Pride and Prejudice, but you were not allowed to speak about that love story past the rejected proposal that happens midway through the love story. The 1995 miniseries is 6 episodes long, and the end of episode 3 is Mr. Darcy proposing to Elizabeth for the first time, and her rejecting him because of how rude he's been, and also because of the lies that she's been led to believe about him from that snake in the grass, Mr. Wickham.
Nah, yo, hold my poodle. Hold my poodle.
Imagine if you were trying to review that love story, but you were not able to talk about all the good stuff that happens in episodes 4, 5, and 6. Colin Firth goes swimming in the lake, he emerges dripping wet.
I am invisible, and I am wet.
Mr. Darcy also starts being nice to Lizzie, he saves Lydia from total social ruin, and the list goes on and on. Now, when you get to watch something early in film and television journalism, sometimes you are given a list of do not reveals. It depends on the work of fiction. I saw Anyone But You early at a press screening. There were not any do not reveals given to me for that. When I got screeners for Bridgerton Season 2 and now for Bridgerton Season 3, there is a list that you are given of things you are not allowed to reveal early. And I actually really like having do not reveal lists because they're extremely precise, clear, and easy to understand.
Don't look at me, I don't know a thing.
The difference is, though, when I got my Bridgerton Season 2 press screeners, they gave me the entire season, so I was able to give an overview of my feedback about the entire love story of Kate and Anthony, as well as other subplots from the other lead characters in that ensemble. All I had to do was avoid the specific items on the Do Not Reveal list, and I was fine. Nobody from the Bridgerton publicity team emailed me to say that I had said too much in my videos reviewing the show. So I am not only going to review the show itself, or half of it anyway, I am also reviewing the fact that it is not an effective model for reviewers to force us to review half a love story with this looming threat of getting blacklisted if we say too much about it. I'm more than happy to abide by do not reveals, like I said, but for future seasons of Bridgerton, I really hope that they do not continue with this review model, because I'm at a bit of a loss as to what is considered acceptable for me to say about Colin and Penelope's love story, or even other character storylines, when I'm under embargo for half of the material.
This is a white.
One little tidbit I will say though, there was something funny to me about sitting at home quietly, minding my own business, and seeing this tornado of mayhem about people melting down online because some other outlet posted that Colin was messing with ex-workers. I'm saying it in a PG vernacular to avoid getting hit by censorship bots on YouTube. The fact that Colin was having these scenes with ex-workers, and people had so many opinions about that, about whether or not that was actually true, whether or not it was actually in the show, and I was just sitting at home, eating my food.
You can't make love to a salad.
It's always interesting being put in this weird place of in between when you are working as small media for years. I've dealt with the back and forth with publicists, publicity teams, and having to scavenge to get just a bit of access, having feature access dangled in front of my face only to have it yanked away with no explanation given. And all the while, the big outlets that get that access and don't have it snatched away, what happens there? They kick off a total mess online, and do you think any consequences come from that? No, because when you're big media, the rules don't actually apply, and this happens all the time. I'm not even talking about Bridgerton at this point. I've seen major plot spoilers spilled more than once for huge films, but it's big media doing it, and nothing happens. Anyway, I don't have a full opinion to offer about the discourse around Colin having those scenes, because I can't talk about the full Colin story yet because of these weird embargoes given to us for this season, and I have to be as careful as possible as small media. And also, I would like to finish book 4 before I form a fully fleshed out opinion on the multi-layered opinions coming from the book audience towards Colin going into their first watch of season 3. Next topic, this half and half distribution model is also bad. And I'm not a pro drop the whole season at once type of viewer. With all the coverage of the strikes that was happening, members of SAG and WGA had made it abundantly clear that the season drop model is extremely harmful to them as workers. Dropping series all at once promotes a flash in the pan situation, and a lot of people who are deep in a fan bubble for any popular show don't understand that the casual audience is not going to be prone to rewatching a season the way that the most ardent fans of a show are. You need to keep a show in the cultural zeitgeist for as long as possible. A lot of the Netflix Korean dramas are released on a weekly basis. They also tend to have far more episodes per season than 8 episodes, but that's a whole other situation. I did a poll on my community tab asking my audience which release model they thought would set the show up for success. Not just Bridgerton, but just any show. Way too many people picked the full season at once model. That's objectively the wrong answer, as I've already explained, but I did find it interesting that the half and half model was the least popular option, and I would agree it's still a bad option. There was some good insight, though, that I got from my viewers. One person commented, "I think a 3-episode premiere, then 1 episode per week is great. It gives people something to binge right away, and then keeps the anticipation going by releasing the rest of the episodes on a weekly basis. This gives people like me, who work and go to school, the time to actually be caught up with everyone else, and there's less likelihood of getting spoiled, too." That is extremely valid. And I often see people in my video comments saying things like they're requesting time off from work on release days for something like Bridgerton because they feel compelled to watch it all immediately, or else they risk being spoiled. If Bridgerton was being released just 1 episode at a time, I think that problem would be countered. And given the financial stress the vast majority of us are living under, I would much prefer that nobody feels compelled to take time off from a paycheck just to watch a show, even when the show is as fun to watch as Bridgerton is. If people really want to binge, that model isn't going to go away. You can always just wait until all the episodes are out and then binge it. And some people do that. They say so in my comments. But anyway, the half and half model feels more like Netflix is just trying to drag their feet into making more of a commitment to allowing for more weekly episode release models for their original series. Now, whether that's a 3-episode premiere followed by weekly releases or just an entirely weekly episodic release, I would much prefer prefer we do one of those for the majority of scripted originals, including Bridgerton. If it's a limited series and you want to release it all at once, I'm less fussy about that. For example, Baby Reindeer, that made absolute sense to drop in just one go. But for a show like Bridgerton, a weekly release is the only sensible way to go. Most of the time, the episode ends with some sort of dramatic flourish that leaves the audience going, wow, oh my God, can you believe this? And compels the audience to stay locked into the story. Also, waiting 1 week is far more bearable than waiting for a month to get the rest of the story.
I'm bored.
Transitioning somewhat into the next section of this video, those review embargoes are important for you as the audience to understand, because if it feels like my praise or feedback in general is stilted or muted, I need you to know that I am not trying to burn any professional bridges. Whenever Benedict Bridgerton gets his own season, I want in on that, so I will absolutely be overly cautious in the lead up to that. If I was going to do just one review of season 3 or even just one review of season 3 part 1, I probably would have waited in the hopes of getting episodes 7 and 8 before starting to outline a review. But when the publicity team wants to give me an incomplete view of what Colin and Penelope's love story is for season 3, and I also have an abundance of opinions that are going to be expanded on within their own videos, I cannot wait around with no sense of if and when I will indeed get to watch episodes 7 and 8 early. I have to outline, film, edit, upload, all of that done early. And make no mistake, I have multiple video topics I intend to do about Bridgerton during this month-long gap until part 2 comes out, which means I have to start making these videos early enough to get them ready in time for season 3 part 1 to drop, as well as the period of waiting that will follow. Furthermore, my regular viewers will also know that I've been neck deep in fostering some cats that were rescued. I am extremely emotionally sensitive right now because they're going to be gone soon. With the current timeline I have mapped out, Bridgerton season 3 part 1 is going to be released just a couple of days after all the cats will be taken to their forever homes, and I'm probably going to be moping and crying alone in my room with no one but my cat Kimiko to keep me company while this video gets released on YouTube. So that further limits my time to work on videos, and also my productivity is impacted by being an emotional wreck over cats. I'm only human. I cannot turn those feelings off so that I'm not distracted by them while I work on YouTube videos about Netflix's Bridgerton. And one final point I want to share is that because I have to start making these videos early, you might see a drastic shift in some of my opinions in videos that end up being published in close succession. You might see some videos released just a few hours after a previous video, but maybe the videos you're watching were filmed a week apart or longer. For example, at the time of recording this video, I've started reading book 4, but I'm only a couple of chapters in. The next video, or the video after that, maybe I will have finished the book. I don't know, but I will do my best to let you know in each video where I'm at as I proceed through sharing my commentary. Hopefully you don't mind me saying everything that I just said, but I think that all of this was important context to this video in particular, but also a lot of what's going to be coming up on my channel.
I hate to break it to you, but I'm gonna.
I want to start getting into some of the specific feedback for characters and storylines, but as a general point, I think it has become abundantly clear that Bridgerton is either too crowded of an ensemble or it's severely cramped by working with only 8 episodes per season, or both. I understand that you've got a lot of great performers and you want to give them something to do, but you've only got 8 episodes, and I would rather get complete stories for the main characters instead of half-baked stories for 30 different people. We'll talk a bit more about the logistics of writing for an ensemble in upcoming videos, but first, let's do a rapid fire of just going through this giant list of characters. Some of these people will be revisited in further detail in their own videos, and we can expand on things more there. That's the preferable, efficient option for me to be able to disseminate information from my brain to you, the people who watch my channel. It will also be a way to pass the time between now and the release of part 2. First up, Kate and Anthony. We only see them a bit in part 1.
Don't look at me. I don't know a thing.
But I will say that we got a more efficient follow-up, an update to what's going on with them in 1 episode than we did for Benedict in 4 episodes. So as much as I would have loved to be hedonistic and just indulge and luxuriate in more Cantony content because they're iconic, I don't mind them being in less episodes if it frees up Jonathan and Simone to be able to take other jobs, but still appear on the show and give us an update on what's going on with Kate and Anthony, since those characters are so beloved to us. The passion, the chemistry, it's still so electric, but I also just love that they're basking in marriage marital bliss. After spending a season mining those layers of how much they were taking on to be the firstborn caretakers of their respective family units, it's like this healing balm to my wounded emotions to just see them so blissful.
Dear Queen, or ma'am, as the prods do call ya.
Charlotte, still insufferable as ever. If you're new here, let me reiterate, as I have before and will continue to do not ever send hate to any of the actors on the show. I can be critical of a character's actions or simply like a character less than other characters. That does not mean that any negativity should ever be sent to the actors. Golda is a phenomenal actress and no one can take that away from her. But I personally don't like Charlotte, nor do I think she's supposed to be likable. I think she's best on the show as a foil, as a threat, and I think that's still the case in season 3. What does Charlotte do besides terrorize young girls while she hunts for the identity of Lady Whistledown? It's not like she's got anything better to do, like look after the well-being of the people. No, terrorizing young girls and trying and failing to prove that her position has any worth or value in a civilized society, that's all she ever does. And you know what? That's an accurate description of English monarchs.
And Prince Charles will be a fucking living embarrassment, as we all know.
But here's the thing. This is Bridgerton season 3. This is the season of Penelope Featherington, or, as she's also known to us, Lady Whistledown. So of course it's only natural that Charlotte has to be in play in the overall narrative for season 3. I don't actually know how the full Lady Whistledown story is going to play out, since, like I said, they haven't given reviewers a complete story to review, nor would I be able to give any sort of general opinion on that complete story arc, even if I had seen episodes 7 and 8, because of this baffling half-and-half embargo situation they've got going on this time around. Season 2 was truly a gift. I never had to deal with any of this kerfuffle then. But since I don't know how the storyline will play out, my only thing I would say is that whatever happens, I want and I need Julie Andrews to still do narrations. I don't know if Lady Whistledown will still exist as a concept after season 3, but I don't need there to be something that makes sense to justify Julie Andrews still doing narration. You don't need any other reason other than the fact that she's Julie Andrews.
Shut up!
I also haven't finished book 4, like I said earlier, so I don't know at the time of recording this video whether or not that book ends with her quitting it altogether, so we'll just have to see and wait either way. Whatever the book does, it could still be something different on the show. Lady Danbury is a cool character, but with the introduction of her brother, I don't super love what they did with that storyline. I cannot explain my opinion of that because of these review embargoes.
Cunt.
But the part that I can say is that I don't mind the idea of her brother coming to town and having a flirtation with Violet in theory. They're cute and he's a good actor, the vibes are fine, but I feel compelled to circle back to my earlier point about how Bridgerton as a show has become extremely overcrowded at this point. 8 episodes is simply not enough to do these characters justice when you keep cramming in more characters, more subplots, more storylines, and also over-elaborating on some of the subplots. Something has to give at this point.
Enough is enough!
If you work on Bridgerton and you need the fans to rally in some way to demand the show be given more money in order to up the episode count, just let the fans know that. There are so many fans of Bridgerton. All you need to do is communicate with them. I'm sure they would be more than happy to bully a corporation into coughing up the money they're hoarding for some executive that wants to buy a 3rd yacht. You don't need the 3rd yacht. We need more episodes of Bridgerton. I feel like the people who are making Bridgerton are so creative and imaginative and full of these wonderful ideas that are great in theory, but again, the material reality is that the show is a show and it's not a book. In a book, you can just put in more ideas, more details, just add more pages. Who cares? An editor can trim things down if it's dragging the pace or something like that, but you don't have a monetary constraint that creates this strict box your story cannot go outside of size-wise, the way that you do when you're making a television series. And when we talk about Violet specifically, I need people to remember that Violet has 11,000 children. If they had Violet getting to do more scenes just within the Bridgerton family, I would already feel more of an understanding of the dynamics and the nuances of that family. And not only that, I would really like to see far more Bridgerton sibling scenes. The fact that season 1 had all these gorgeous Benedict Eloise scenes where they would bond over feeling like outsiders to the norms of the world that they live in, and they briefly followed up on that for season 2, I will firmly demand that we explore more of the relationships within the Bridgerton family. I want to see more of how these different siblings relate to one another. The fact that each season is so drastically different in showing certain Bridgertons interacting or not interacting with one another has now reached the point of feeling jarring. Bridgerton is a popular enough show that there's bound to be some curiosity from the audience about the further corners of the world, more details about more characters, and to be quite frank, that's what fan fiction is for. What I want to see on the show is more consistency in letting me know about the Bridgerton family, plus whichever family unit exists for the love interest of the main Bridgerton of that season. So for season 2, that should have been the Sharmas, but apparently somebody was on an anti-Asian kick that year and decided not to let us learn about all those details about Kate's birth parents. Okay, I know, I already did a video about that. Some of you know, some of you might be new. I've got a whole playlist up of my Bridgerton videos, so feel free to browse so I don't repeat myself.
Oh, wait a minute. I've already done that.
The Featherington family unit, shockingly, I actually didn't mind them this season. Funny how when they get more airtime, when it's actually their turn, I don't have all this rage flaring up like I did during season 2. All of the you need to make an heir stuff, I genuinely found it funny.
I take it the two of you? No?
Do not look at me. Have you ever visited a farm? No.
I didn't really understand the relationship dynamic between Prudence and her man, Dank Meme, but Finch, ooh, that's still my guy. Mr. I Like Cheese, he has never once let me down, and you know what? I think he's the man that we are not giving enough flowers to. Time and time again, he has the good vibes, good energy, and he somehow manages to maintain that even temperament when he has the most insufferable mother-in-law. What does he do? Meditate? Astral projection, burn incense. I need Mr. Finch to be my Mr. Miyagi because I want to be as happy and unbothered as he is even when I have to be around people I don't like. I'll circle back to that subplot at a later time though, so just stay put. Watch this space. We'll talk about more things. Cressida, way too much airtime. I haven't finished book 4 yet, so maybe I will modify my opinion, but I don't need all of this backstory for her that they were cramming in. I don't. You're trying to make me care about her feelings, but guess what? You already burned me out by overloading me with too many freaking characters. I don't need you to go, but the mean girl has feelings too. Yeah, so what? I don't care. I'm so sorry. But, you know, again, don't send hate to the actress. She was doing her job and you should give her a raise. I will say that about any and every actor that is working in the industry outside of the upper 5%, okay? But I just saw way too much of Cressida in season 3. I only need her to be there to be a foil to Penelope. I don't need the sob story explaining why she's doing it. It's Penelope season. There's only 8 episodes. Maybe you as the screenwriters and producers really like the actress and you wanted to give her that moment to shine, and that's very kind, but you only have 8 episodes. I need you to trim it down. I will probably elaborate more on this in a different video. Next up, Lord Debling. I love this man. I was not prepared for how much I was going to love him. I don't just love him, I need him. If any of you ridiculously talented AO3 writers would like to write a spin-off for Lord Debling of him going off to save an endangered bird and unexpectedly falling in love with someone whilst doing so, please do it and comment to me the name of the fic and the author username of the account. I will read it immediately.
Where does the pollen go?
I said before watching season 3 that I was really going to need Lord Debling to be a good person. I did not want him to have some sort of nefarious plot twist reveal that would make it where Penelope is choosing Colin because her other love interest ended up being a mustache-twirling cartoon villain. Who's the guy Alfred Molina played in Dudley Do-Right?
That's my color. I'm the bad guy.
But you're not wearing black, Snidely. That's dark blue.
It is not.
If you watch episode 1 of Bridgerton, Penelope said exactly what she was looking for, and Lord Debling fit that description to a T. He's kind, and he would have given her her privacy so she could keep being Lady Whistledown. Lord Debling, oh, I need him. It has nothing to do with what he looks like. I don't actually feel any type of way about how he looks. It's everything entirely about who he is as a person. Now, if you're a Pollen shipper, please don't yell at me. I was never rooting for Penelope to end up with him. It's a Pollen season. I know that. I am very aware of who she's going to end up with. And Lord Debling was not a love match. He was just a really nice guy who would have been a perfectly pleasant husband for her to have. But Bridgerton is always about a love story being the main plot. It's about a love match. I'm just saying, someone needs to do that Lord Debling fix, since I doubt that they would ever prioritize giving that man his own spinoff, even though I would 100% watch that. No. 1,000% watch that.
No ritual animal slaughters of any kind.
Will and Alice, I still love them so much. They're this breath of fresh air to the monotony of these insufferable, generationally wealthy, privileged people. I like that they offer this window into the world of the Ton where I, as a viewer, can relate to them more when they're taken aback by how weird the Ton is, how all these ridiculous rules they're being told to live by should be thrown out with the rest of the rubbish. The actual storyline they were given, though, I'm kind of mixed on. I don't think the Bridgerton premise really gives much room to effectively interrogate the absurdity of the system, the generational wealth, the marriage mart, just everything, and I wish they would focus first and foremost on the vibes. Ultimately, I watch Bridgerton for the vibes. It's about getting me emotionally invested in the chemistry and connection between various couplings. There's a different main couple of each season, but that doesn't mean we cannot see other couples here and there thriving. And I would love to see Will and Alice being kept in the show, but personally, I preferred them as workers. I don't get why the show is so allergic to letting people who work for a living be a main player in the ensemble. But that's neither here nor there. We can maybe revisit the conversation about the Mondriches after part 2 is released. We'll see what happens with their story. I'm actually going to be out of town on the release day for part 2, which is another reason why I need the publicity team to hurry up and let me get my screeners, or else I will not be able to prepare my coverage accordingly. Now let's run through the giant list of Bridgertons. I already talked a bit about Violet, so I will just go through her children, even if some of those children are adults. Hyacinth and Gregory are still as adorable as ever, but I appreciate the step forward where you can see that they are no longer children, but they are now teenagers. They're developing more of their personalities. They have their moments of jumping in with Bridgerton family banter. It's a nice move without overdoing it with the screen time. It's already a lot for the show to juggle A, B, C, E, and F with only 8 episodes per season. Honestly, the fact that there are 8 Bridgerton children, one of whom is not there anymore, but you've got Violet, so it's still 8 Bridgertons. That doesn't even include Kate and Penelope and Penelope's family unit. How on earth do they expect to do these characters justice with only 8 episodes in a season? Please stop being ridiculous. Just pay your workers more episodes. Do a 12 or 13 episode season. Push for that so that if they drag their feet, you can at least land on 10 episodes. Anything to get above 8, because at this point, it's so obviously not enough, if it ever was in the first place. Season 1, I think, made the 8 episode count work, but season 2, I've already explained the problem ad nauseum. And now season 3 proves once and for all that something officially has to change. 8 episodes does not cut it. Francesca's introduction was excellent. I have no notes. I said more than once in videos I released in the lead up to watching season 3 that I didn't really know what to think about Francesca, but she was so cute. I love how different she is from the other Bridgertons because it brought this fresh new dynamic to the season. Really, it was her and the Mondriches that I think I appreciated the most for changing things up with the show, just so that it's not the same old storylines being reset and recycled to play out again. Now, I have not read Francesca's book yet, but I did look up an extremely basic premise, so I am aware of the fact that she gets married to one man, and then he passes away, and her main love story in her book is a different man. As you'll all have seen, if you have read the book, she's met husband number 1. I really like their dynamic. It's so different from the other couplings we've seen on the show. Him coming over to the Bridgerton house and sitting next to her in silence, and then the reveal of the rest of the Bridgertons watching them in confusion. Oh! Peak comedy. I don't know when Francesca will get her season, so I would be interested to know how long husband number 1 will be around for. Eloise, I feel like her storyline is the one that's going to provoke a lot of exhausting discourse that I don't really love the idea of jumping into, so I will try to keep this simple, especially for this video where I'm doing a rapid fire of the 100 characters they're stuffing into 8 episodes. Eloise in seasons 1 and 2 had a very specific trajectory, energy, and I think if we had repeated that in season 3, it could have run the risk of becoming stale. So in that sense, I like that we got to explore something different for her, and it also gave Claudia something new to play so that she does not have to feel like she's becoming creatively bored on the show. I also found the whole storyline involving Eloise and Penelope to be a fascinating full circle, what goes around comes around situation when you think about what Penelope did to Marina and why, to now where Penelope is the one entering an engagement with Colin with a giant secret looming over the announcement. I did a sort of call to action poll on my community tab where I asked my audience to share their lists of most favorite to least favorite for the books of the main Bridgerton children, A through H, and there was a bit of everything in the results. From what I can recall, most of the Bridgertons had at least one answer putting their book near the top or near the bottom of the list. But one thing I did pick up on was that a lot of the people who answered seemed to put Francesca somewhere in their top 3. And Eloise's book seemed to have a lot of discourse and opinions about it. A lot of people were putting Eloise's book near the lower part of their list and were giving these vague statements about her story. And I said that I don't want book spoilers, which is why the descriptions were vague, and I appreciate it. Don't spoil it. But I am intrigued to see how this drastic shift for Eloise in season 3 could potentially play into leading her towards eventually getting her own turn in the spotlight. In a different poll I posted, I saw viewers mostly guessing that Eloise will be season 5. So if that is the case, they would presumably need to start putting things into motion to get her there, even if it is just 2 seasons away now. I like that Eloise had that moment of realizing that she was the one who leaked the situation with Colin and Penelope to the Ton. Make no mistake, she still should not have told Cressida. What on earth was she thinking? But in watching season 3, I think the explanation made a lot of sense for why Eloise would end up friends with Cressida. She was feeling desperate alone, and she didn't feel like she had options. I think people don't give enough grace to the fact that friend breakups can hurt just as much as romantic breakups, sometimes even more. And that is what Eloise and Penelope went through in the season 2 finale. And I'll give flowers to both Nicola and Penelope for serving that quality angst in their acting in season 3 whenever they had scenes with each other, or even if they weren't directly speaking to one another, but if they had to just sort of react to the other character being nearby. They were giving face. They were giving these glistening, watery gazes, and I ate that up. Next up, I don't want to belabor this point right now because of the amount of pages I've already gone through outlining this video. Too many.
I'm shocked. This is shocking news.
Benedict Bridgerton, my capybara. I hate to say it, I hope I don't sound ridiculous, but I strongly dislike this part 1 for him. What exactly is this nothing burger you've given my boy?
I mean, it's arse-numbingly dull and,
How exactly did I spend months brainstorming, outlining, recording, editing every step of the production process for a video essay that is over 1.5 hours long about Benedict Benny Boo Boo Bridgerton, speaking at length about the emotional labor he does for others, about how he is consistently being overlooked by the people in his life, by the audience of the show, unless they're already Benofi shippers, which I technically can't even categorize myself as yet, because I haven't read his book yet, so I haven't met Sophie yet. Just for you as the show, Netflix's Bridgerton, to do the exact same thing to him. You completely overlooked him.
By the way, in case you're an idiot and need it spelled out for you, we fucking suck so far.
Now, I don't know if they knew that this half and half model was going to be implemented for season 3 when they were scripting and filming the season. I would assume that you didn't know that this was going to be the model they used when you went into production. But to me, it doesn't even matter. Even if you were operating under the assumption that you were going to have the entire season dumped out in one go, you still went half a season, or maybe even over half a season, giving him fuck all to do. Really? Truly. Let me put this rage fest on pause, though. We've gone through everyone else because it would feel ridiculous to talk about anyone after Paul, and it would just feel anticlimactic. Like I said in the earlier sections of this video, I'm extremely irked by this release model, and more so the release model for reviewers and the embargoes placed upon our coverage, because I don't know how much I can say about Pauline's love story if you will, number 1, not allow me to review part 2 before it's released, which is the impression that I'm getting from the emails that are in my inbox, and also just the fact that you didn't let me watch the full thing. How do I talk about Pauline's relationship when you're silencing me for half or 75% of it? I can try to do what I can with what little I've been offered, but I will try to do what I can. I'll probably also wait to feel things out once other reviews have been released and I can see what the show's fandom is saying in my comments, and then I will circle back to talk about more things if I feel like it's safe to do so. I have mixed feelings about the first Colin kiss, and let me elaborate on that before you yell at me. I went into watching season 3 being firmly team Penelope, team let's embarrass Mr. No Thoughts Head Empty as badly as he embarrassed Penelope in the season 2 finale. So when they finally got their first kiss, I was a bit wary of the fact that Penelope was not getting to enjoy it the way that I wanted her to, because she was so sad about being humiliated yet again, even though I thought we were already finished with all of that nonsense in season 2. Why are we doing it again in season 3? No, it wasn't bad. It was a good kiss, but I'm just biased in that I like Penelope more than I do Colin, so I wanted it to be more of a good time for her in that moment. I didn't want to see her sad when she finally got to smooch Mr. No Thought's head empty, which is what she's been wanting to do for her entire life. I did like, though, that they mentioned the backstory of how they met. I haven't finished the book yet, like I said, but I did get to the part where he fell off the horse and he starts laughing and little baby Penelope goes, oops, I'm in love with him. And in episode 4, when he wants to go chase after her in the carriage, when he said, let me in.
Swollen. Turgid. Tumescent. Perfect.
I try really hard to avoid plot spoilers before a season is released. I really do. But I was well aware of 2 things that the fandom was clamoring to see in season 3. One of those things was the carriage scene. I haven't actually gotten to the part of the book where that happens, but by the time you all watch this video, I'm assuming I will have read it, but recording me for this video has not read the carriage scene yet. I haven't had time. I'm busy getting this close to crying every day over the cats. I'm trying to keep the tears in my eyes, and that's way more time consuming than you might think it is. Now, I think the carriage scene was good, but I also would have liked the lead up to it more if we had gotten to see more groveling before she finally agreed to let him in. You know, just make him squirm a little bit before you let him make you squirm. That's all I'm saying. Listen, we all know that Paul and her endgame. We know they're gonna end up together, happy, in love, all of that. I'm just saying, we could have let him panic a little bit more first. I wanted to see him suffer more. Maybe if you didn't insist on shoving 800 storylines into 8 episodes, we could have gotten more groveling. One thing I'm interested in learning, though, now that I'm going to finish reading the book before season 3, part 1 comes out, that's how I'm assuming this timeline's gonna play out, is seeing how the Lady Whistledown storyline plays out, because in the first few chapters I've read of the book, they haven't revealed yet that Penelope is Lady Whistledown, but on the show, they revealed that all the way back in season 1. Well, the season 1 finale. So it was a very interesting dynamic to watch season 3 with having this giant secret looming over their relationship. I go into watching season 3 knowing very well it's a Pollen season. This is when we root for them to finally get together. But the problem I had is that they put so much baggage on the Lady Whistledown storyline on the show. What Penelope did to Marina, what Penelope did to Eloise. And then you have Colin literally saying out loud in season 3 part 1 that he won't forgive her for that. He has all this disdain for Lady Whistledown. And the dramatic weight of that is so much more to handle than the angst from seasons 1 and 2, because it's something specifically negative in emotion from one person in the main couple to the other, even unknowingly so. Simon's backstory was very intense, but it was about his father. It wasn't negativity towards Daphne until it was, but that's a whole other conversation. I already did a video about that. And with Kate and Anthony, it was this very self-sacrificing, dramatic angst. You never once felt this type of worry and dread about them getting together. They were way too feral for each other for me to ever feel worry and dread. But I'll be completely honest with you, the viewers, about my experience watching season 3 for the first time. When they gave me these screeners, episodes 1 through 6, I was so stressed out watching them that once I finished, I had to just take a break. I didn't immediately jump into rewatching them because not having the complete story, not knowing when I would be given episodes 7 and 8, and the type of story that these two have to play out with this giant looming secret of Lady Whistledown, it was just flooding my brain with cortisol. I didn't like the feeling. I watch Bridgerton for something very specific. I watch it for romantic vibes, playful banter, low stakes drama. The only real drama is how long until they get together. But you know they're going to get together because that's literally the entire premise of the show. But watching Pauline's storyline in season 3, it kept making me feel like, am I watching Netflix's Bridgerton or am I watching Colin Farrell's Phone Booth? And that's not a knock on Colin Farrell's Phone Booth. I'm just saying that my brain was not in let's watch something with the stress of suspense mode. So I got overwhelmed by being switched up on in that way. Listen, I saw X at the cinema and I had a fun time with that. But the difference is I went into that viewing knowing I'm going to see Jigsaw throw a bunch of people into some traps, there's going to be body horror, and eventually the jingle is going to play. Someone please make an edit of Bridgerton season 3 with the Jigsaw jingle for the suspense of the Lady Whistledown secret, because I bet those two things go together better than you think they do. I think season 3 will be more enjoyable and less stressful for me once I have all the episodes to watch and I've already watched them and I have that mental relief built into my brain of knowing how everything plays out. But for a first watch, left on this open-ended, what? No energy of not having the complete season, not knowing when I would get the rest, that was unpleasant. And here's the thing, once a week, that's a model I can completely get behind. I'm busy. A week will fly right by. The not knowing is what bothers me. Like for season 3, not knowing the premiere dates for 2 years, that was unpleasant. But once we had the release dates for parts 1 and 2, that was completely fine. A few months, wait, it'll fly right by. I don't mind waiting years for a new Avatar film because James Cameron already has the next 10 sequels lined up. But I will just leave things there for now. I think if I want to circle back and really elaborate on giving feedback on Pauline's love story, I will probably need to wait until part 2 is out so that I can actually properly talk about things in their entirety. But I will have a look through the comments, so if I see any talking points that I think can work in the meanwhile, I might make something extra that's more Pauline focused in the downtime between now and June 16th. But to be clear, I do already have other Bridgerton videos lined up, so this is not the only video you will be getting from me. As a matter of fact, my next video will be, to the surprise of absolutely no one, about Benedict Bridgerton, because you don't get to slight my capybara and expect me not to make a video about that. Like, comment, subscribe. I know this video feels terribly rushed, but the rush is more so me trying to knock out a general introductory overview about Bridgerton Season 3 so that we will be able to get into more specifics, or at least the ones I'm allowed to talk about right now.
I wish you nothing but the worst.
Anyway, I will see you in 4 hours from now when I publish my Benedict Bridgerton video.